Hey, just want to show you guys why I'm thinking this could still come back a little bit west and be a pretty decent hit, particularly for coastal areas and stuff. And I'd say that being a big inland storm at this point, but we can always watch for that too. But now this is my theory on it. This is what I'm thinking, and the ideas that some other people have about being a progressive pattern and heading out to sea are perfectly valid theories. That's the thing about this field is there are a lot of different pieces to the puzzle, and it's like kind of like abstract art. Different people can look at it and see different things, and there's no sometimes this far out there's not a right or wrong answer but a theory. So I'm not going to say that somebody else's idea is wrong or doesn't make sense or anything like that, because the theories that are being put out as far as the progressive pattern and such are perfectly valid. But I'll show you why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. And we'll start here with the European PNA. And I want you to note here, right at storm time, here's this nice little spike in the PNA, which would indicate a nice ridge out in the west. Now you go to the GFS, and same time frame. It's different dates here, so it's skewed back a little bit. Yes, there is a rise in the PNA, but it's not nearly as pronounced as it is on the European. And now I'm going to use the Canadian model here to show you the 500 millibar pattern. I don't have the data for the Canadian PNA, and I can show you the European, but I wanted to just show you the. I'm thinking the Canadian's probably closer to this than this, and I'll show you why here. Now, here's the Canadian 500 millibars 12Z Tuesday, and here are the features that are going to be important. It's going to be this trough here coming in, this shortwave digging in out here, and of course here's our trough in the east. And what's going to happen with all this energy, and why I think it's not going to be as strung out as it is here, given that PNA forecast, particularly from the European. Now we'll go ahead to Tuesday evening, and now here, watch what's happening here. You have this piece here, pretty nice trough here, but it's getting kicked out by this piece here, and it's starting to flatten the ridge out. And because it's flattening the ridge out, now this trough is starting to really speed along here and get kicked off. And look how this energy is strung out here. Look how much this energy gets strung out because of that. And look how much flatter now the ridge is going out to Wednesday morning. Now, what I'm thinking is going to happen here, given the PNA on the European, and like I said, I think the Canadian's probably pretty similar, is this ridge here is going to be strong. It's not going to buckle like it's showing here. And I think what that's going to do in turn, I think instead it's like this, I think we're going to still see the ridge, pretty sharp like that. And I think in turn what that's going to do is it's going to block a little bit this piece of energy from getting sheared out, and it's going to dig more off the coast. This piece here, instead of getting just shunted in with the ridge holding stronger, the trough is going to be forced to dig a little bit more, and it's going to be slower coming in, and that's going to allow this piece to more feed into it as opposed to kicking it eastward and flattening the ridge. Now, what that in turn does is, as you go forward here, instead of this ridge being flat and out here like this, the ridge is going to end up being there's going to be a trough more out here, and then the ridge more like that. And maybe it's a little further east than that, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. It's going to be further west. The ridge axis will be further west and not as flat as you go in. Now, what that in turn does is it causes this whole thing to back up here. And a typical error of the models, is to string out the energy with these troughs too much, too fast. And you can see that going back here. Here it is originally at Tuesday morning. Tuesday evening, it's starting to string out. Wednesday morning, it's really strung out. And with the if the ridge indeed is sharper and more amplified and further west, then what you're going to get is, instead of this being strung out like that, you're going to have a trough that's a little more west, and the energy, instead of being let's drop where, let's put that right in there. And the energy, instead of being all strung out like that, is more concentrated in an area down in here someplace. And then that allows a storm system to be closer to the coast. Now, there are subtle differences here. You can see, we'll go to, let me show you the GFS, the difference in the GFS. Now, the GFS, which has that weaker PNA, it's going to flatten. It makes more sense that it's flattening the ridge. And you can see this whole trough is just kind of crashing in and just kicking everything eastward. And like I said, it makes sense with the GFS because it has a very weak PNA, and that goes with that. But with the European, and I said I'm expecting the Canadian will look the same, I don't see it making sense that it flattens the ridge that much. And now the reason I am leaning more towards the Canadian European solution is because the GFS tends to have a bias, a progressive bias. So I'm leaning more towards this on the models. Now, let's go forward here and we'll take a look at the surface map. Now, here's our low at 12Z Tuesday. Go out to 0Z Wednesday, Tuesday evening, and then go out forward here. And there's our storm. And now, I'm not saying this storm is going to be coming, coming from down here and then coming right up the coast like a big blizzard for everybody back in here. I'm not seeing that happen as of right now. Certainly be monitoring things, but I think it's going to be further west. Now, let me show you, though, the GFS and the difference. Now, they're pretty much the same at 12Z Tuesday, but now it starts to go further east because of the more progressive nature. And you can see here it's well east of Cape Cod at 12Z Wednesday, whereas the Canadian model, yes, it is east, but it's certainly not nearly as east, and that's because of the trough ridge positions out west. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to be happening. I think we're going to see, just to review, that the trough in the west is off the shore. It's going to be digging more and slower coming ashore and allowing the shortwave to blend into it instead of kicking it out, because I believe the PNA ridge is going to be more amplified, hold its ground more, and then force the trough to back in the east a bit. It's basically a game of dominoes. What one part does, the other parts will follow, and I think that's what's going to be happening. It's going to be very interesting to track this over the next couple of days and see what does transpire. But pretty much all options are on the table right now. Don't think somebody's idea is totally out to lunch, because, like I said, those ideas are completely valid too. I'm just going with a different theory, and we'll see how that plays out. Okay, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and happy tracking.